This is Surrey County Cricket Club. Born in a tavern in 1845. The symbol of Kennington, we've seen London grow around us. Cricket's original champions, as Charles Alcock brought his vision to life and we cemented a reputation as a place of firsts. International football, FA Cup finals, international rugby, test matches, as well as where English pride came to die, before a great rivalry was born from its ashes. We share our feathers with royalty and pass on the honour of the brown cap through generations. We've seen England's best spend their careers with us.
Well, that's Jack Hobbs. Head and shoulders, yes, over all other living batsmen.
And the game's best finish under our gasometer. We've won 7 in a row thanks to Surridge, May, Barrington, Locke, Laker and the Bedser twins. In fact, we're well known for our famous siblings, but there's always been one family who've stood out. We saw the West Indies grip a nation on our doorstep, and a pioneer set records galore in the women's game. The end of the century brought a fresh take on Ik Dien, as Holyoake and his England teammates transformed us on the pitch. The changing of the oval skyline brought the greatest of finales.
There it is. England have regained the Ashes.
And an era of final test triumphs.
Alistair Cook has done it. A century in his last. Well played.
On our way to our own red ball century. We're one half of the game's oldest rivalry and its only London derby.
Oh my! Can you clear the pavilion?
Local players are always the lifeblood of our side. But the world's best are attracted to us too. We've come through tragedies. Now we're home to world champions and cricketers of the year. 175 years have passed. There's much more to come. This is Surrey County Cricket Club, heart of London, pride of the county, the grandest stage in world cricket.
And a very good morning. Welcome to the second day of this county championship match between Surrey and Hampshire. My name is Henry Moeran. This is Felix White. Good morning to you.
Morning, Henry. How you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. Good day yesterday, busy day yesterday. All sorts going on, ebbed and flowed. Really entertaining day of championship cricket. We will be bringing you every ball that we will see across today, and indeed the rest of the match should be a nail biter. But let's remind you what happened on day one between Surrey and Hampshire.
Clever bowler. Oh, big appeal. Like it, Gibbons. And there is the breakthrough. Oldham goes for 8. Oh, he's got unlucky because it's bottom edge into the ground, and then as he's realised the danger, have a look at this. Suddenly, what can you do?
Press the shape of a change of ball.
We do. Roach out of the attack. In comes the Australian Abbott. And immediately strikes. A little bit of a juggling act in the sit cordon, but it is the big wicket. Vince goes for 18, and Abbott immediately a little bit outside that off stump. Vince couldn't resist chasing it.
Tom Laws comes into bowl.
Oh, what a ball that is. Absolute beauty. Dawson could not do anything about it. It took Abbott 1 ball, it's taken Laws 2.
Did anything just because Australia were coming?
Yeah.
Oh, got him! Clark takes his first wicket of the morning in Middleton.
That looks almost like leopard print with the showers that are moving round. That's in the air and taken. Brilliant catch. Backward point diving forward, and Holland goes. The first time we've really seen any proper aggression with the back foot drive. It went aerial. Very full, big appeal, given! Brown goes for 95 and Laws makes the breakthrough. Yorker length, clattering probably into middle and leg, and there is that breakthrough they were looking for. No, and he's used to being in that slip, Gordon. Oh, is that a catch? It is. Barker looks frustrated.
Bowled him. Tom Laws picks up his 4th of the day. James Fuller clean bowled for 21. Surrey have their 9th wicket. Surrey are 1 wicket away from batting on the first evening. Hits it through the covers, takes an odd bounce.
Oh, we have a potential run out. We have more than a potential run out. We do have a run out.
Brilliant shot from Burns. This time Barker slightly over pitches.
And here he is in once more. And he is driven away wonderfully by Rory Burns. That will reach the fence. It's just getting there. It teases the field all the way. Jasper was actually bowling from closer to you, so it is literally faster.
And that's why it catches people out. Often the ball gets big on people and it gets from us.
Absolutely. That was beautifully clipped away by Rory Burns.
So the highlights of yesterday's action that saw Hampshire all out for 254, Surrey making it to the close of play, 37 not out. Felix and I will be bringing you the start of play in a few minutes' time, but let's hear from the star of the show. 20-year-old Tom Laws took 4 for 58 yesterday, and after play he spoke to Mark Church.
Well, that's been a very good first day. Obviously, Hampshire winning the toss on what looked a pretty good surface, but to get them out for 254, I'd have thought you chuffed a bit, aren't you?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we were going to look to bowl first anyway, so it kind of fell nicely. And then we just knew this pitch has a little bit of history. They've beaten Hampshire the last 2 years there quite comfortably, so we just wanted to start strong and put a mark on Hampshire. There could be a strong team in this year's division.
I know you had them in trouble at lunch, but I think at the toss of the coin, if I'd offered you 254, you'd have probably taken that, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I mean, at one point I thought we might have done them a little bit lower, but partnerships happen and you just got to be patient, and they're allowed to have a good partnership. I mean, Ben Moeran and Keith Barker batted nicely, but yeah, we'd take 250 any day.
4 wickets for yourself, you know, getting the call for this game. Obviously Ben's out the game, but how pleased were you with the way you bowled today? Yeah,
very pleased. It's just nice to know that the work I've been doing over the winter and pays off really, and I had an opportunity and I was able to put in a contributing performance, which I was really happy with. Yeah.
How good was it to get that wicket with your second ball as well? Because it just settles you in.
Oh, so nice. Like, nerves were going, adrenaline was going, heart's beating a little bit, and then to get a wicket early on, it just settles you into a rhythm nicely. It's a great hand, lucky to have.
And a word for your opening pair as well, to get through those 14 overs against that attack and be no wickets down tonight was exceptional.
Yeah, they batted lovely. I had the pads on as a night watcher and I was a bit nervous watching the balls swing and nip about, but to get through the day none down was brilliant. Yeah. And it's a pretty obvious thing to say, but game plan tomorrow is just look to bat long and bat well, isn't it? Yeah, hopefully put a big score on the board and then have a go at them again bowling wise. Well bowled today, you've done well to concentrate and get through this interview. Good luck tomorrow. Thanks, Stretchy. Well done, boy.
So Tom Laws chatting yesterday to Mark Church after his 4 for 58, helped to bowl Hampshire out for 254. Here come the Surrey openers, Rory Burns and Dom Sibley, a one-time test opening partnership for England. And they made it to 37. Not out, but without loss, I should say, last night. 14 overs they survived. Awkward conditions against this much vaunted Hampshire bowling attack. Felix, lovely to hear from Tom Laws yesterday, who is 20 and good at bowling. And I resent both elements of that.
I'm glad you brought that up, Henry, because I thought I was going to have to betray your confidence and tell everyone that while we were watching that interview, you just turned to me, quite forlorn actually, and said, imagine being 20 and really good at bowling. It would just be good, wouldn't it? And he has got that sort of, he had that smugness in that interview, didn't he? I thought, where he's just like, I'm 20, I'm really good at bowling.
I know. Which would you rather be?
Well, it begs the question.
20 or really good at bowling?
It begs the question, would you rather be 20 or really good at bowling? Maybe people watching in can get in touch.
Here comes Keith Barker. And it's going to be a run immediately if they're quick, and they are quick enough.
I think it's a genuine quandary, isn't it? Would you rather be 20 or really good at bowling, but you can't have both?
Yeah. Because, you know, Jimmy Anderson is really good at bowling, not 20. It's double that.
Yeah, don't mention that in front of him, though.
No.
I've learned from experience.
Does he not like that? But I remember chatting to him about after the Ashes in 2017, and people say, oh, it'll be your last one. And he got very funny about that.
Yeah, well, interestingly, we've stopped talking about it generally, haven't we?
Yeah.
Jimmy retiring in his age. It's just become a sort of a given.
It's gone now.
That he plays cricket. And 5-10 years ago, it was a much more of a conversation, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, I'm all for it, you know. He's got, wouldn't surprise me to see him roaring back next year after.
Oh, yeah.
Lovely old job. Here comes Barker then again. Burns, who was solid last night, continues to show that resolve. And fresh from a night wielding Thor's hammer somewhere in Valhalla.
That's so funny, yeah, waking up in Game of Thrones. I did wake up though thinking it must feel good for these two to think we got through it last night. Must be a good feeling.
I think a bit of a sense that Hampshire were looking for wickets last night, a bit sort of over-pitched and not quite just trusting that the ball and the conditions and the surface would be enough to winkle out a couple of wickets. So they'll feel a little bit of pressure.
That's interesting you say that, because I really enjoyed that last hour passage of play, because it felt like, you know, Surrey could conceivably have gone in like 3 down, especially the way the game started, with the wickets seaming a little bit. And they did bowl a bit outside of stump, didn't they? Sort of 5th, 6th stump line.
2 slips and a gully. Burns looking for the first run of the morning. Won't do so. There's Abbott, who you'd have thought will play a little more of a role than we saw last night. Just the 3 overs, it was just a little bit wayward from the Hampshire.
I'm not sure if it was a plan, was it? I felt like there was a conceited effort to get Rory Burns driving outside of stump, which he refused to do.
He showed a lot of restraint, certainly. I wonder how much freedom Rory Burns and Dom Sibley can play with, given the fact that maybe a year ago there was still this, I suppose, the weight of England selection, yes or no, and perhaps if that ship hasn't necessarily sailed permanently, there's less need, I guess, for them to be proving themselves to selectors at this time of year than there was 12 months ago.
Henry, that is such an interesting point. I think the embodiment of that point you just made there, Henry, is that I observed last night. It feels like they've got less exaggerated tics than they ever had before. Rory Burns used to have this sort of cartoonish look across his shoulder, which he still does, but I think if you're watching him back for the first time now, you wouldn't necessarily think that's unorthodox. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, there was that sort of odd kind of rotation of the head round.
Which is still there, and Dom Sibley had a lot of strange movements and fidgets as well, and they just seem like they're more at ease. And I wonder whether that feeds in with what you were saying with like just not being involved in England's setup and just being a little bit less anxious about everything.
Yeah, I think it's one of those, isn't it, where sort of slightly perversely that distance that one moves away from England selection makes you closer to it.
Yeah,
because it's less sort of, it's less weighing on your mind, perhaps.
Incredibly, but there's something in life in that as well, isn't it? The less you search for something,
Yes.
the closer you are to it. Oh, God, I didn't know we were going to get so profound first thing in the morning.
It's only a second over. What a lovely old job. 38 without loss. I can... the old scorecard at the bottom of the screen is being a little erratic first thing in the morning. We'll see if we can wake that up. We all need a bit of waking up first thing sometimes. It's nicely driven, but I'd just be interested to see if Dom Sibley and Rory Burns could find a little bit of form at the top of the order for Surrey. And if England, maybe not this coming Ashes series, maybe that blueprint and that side has been selected, but how long it would take for those conversations to come again. And
yeah.
You'd have thought that weight of runs is, well, it's always the metric upon which pressure is put upon selection.
Well, it's going to require a couple of things, isn't it? Firstly, people at the top in the England test side not scoring runs consistently, and then you yourself scoring a lot of runs in county level. So if those two things can come together, I don't know, this summer, if you be eyeing it this summer.
But then it's a bit of a freebie. Enjoy yourself. Go out and play your game. See how many you can score. You're playing for a brilliant side, reigning champions. Have some fun with it. Sibley on striker, Bass bowling.
Yeah, I mean, to that point, that's an interesting point, because it's almost been like it's been an epiphany from the England side to be like, oh yeah, we can just enjoy playing cricket. Like nobody had clocked that for decades. Like, oh, this could just be fun if we want it to be.
Yeah.
You know, and the freedom that comes with that. And I wonder whether that is going to trickle down into county level.
It's that thing that it always makes me laugh when you hear successful sides always talk about team spirit. And you sort of think, well, one follows the other, doesn't it? Because if you're winning, of course, you're going to be having a lovely time. But actually, why not create the culture of having a lovely time and then see where it takes you? Because, you know, oh, why is this team so successful? Oh, we've just got such a great spirit in the camp. Well, that might just be because you've had a good start to the season and everyone's having a nice time. So why not create the environment to allow people that? And that's kind of what has happened at the England test level.
I find that genuinely inspiring, because I think losing often in life is not a sign of anything other than you're just living. And so to take that pressure off people and feel like, you know, this is just the rhythms of life sometimes, you know.
Totally.
We all lose and you're learning. So I don't know, I think like when you like hear all ex-England captains talk about captaining, and especially, it's almost like it's written into the contract that you do it for 5 years and you start up for it, and then you carry it around like a boulder, and then you leave exhausted and burdened by it. And does that necessarily have to?
Well, I don't see why it does. I mean, you look at Joe Root's captaincy arc. By the end of it, he looked knackered, didn't he?
Yeah. Well, I have never seen something that more more revealing of Joe Root or the human spirit as when he was in Australia. Not the recent sort of one before, when he was single-handedly batting to save England in test matches that were lost causes, and he got really sick. I don't know if you remember that in the 5th test, and he was in hospital. I think he was in hospital overnight.
Yeah. Really hot, wasn't it?
It was really hot.
I do remember that.
That's a shot. And in I think it's always interesting how our body speaks for our minds sometimes, and it kind of unveils the pressure that's just sort of loading into your head occasionally. But anyway, he hit a ball. I can't remember who. So someone was standing at bat pad, and he hit the ball at them, hit them on the helmet, and he turned round immediately and went, "I'm sorry, you're right." And I remember thinking, just in that split second, that revealed such an element of his character. That he was under that pressure, but his instinct was still just to see if they were okay. And so it sort of revealed, like, oh God, is he just too kind? You know, is he taking too much on?
And there's just, you could see, particularly at the end of that Grenada test match, seen the pictures of that last year when England had lost. It was 1 win in 17. He just looked like knackered. And And it's all credit to him for taking the burden of responsibility for that role. And you've got to say, it is a brave person to do that. Oh, it's well bowled.
He said recently, didn't he, actually, when he looked back at himself, he realised he didn't realise how tired he looked. And you have that, don't you, when you're going through low periods generally, you feel like it's not showing. When you look back at a photo, you sort of think, oh God, that's really on my face.
Yeah.
That's happening.
I look horrific.
Yeah, it's written on it.
It's so true. But somebody described the England Test tour to New Zealand this winter as a bit like a golf tour where cricket got in the way. And on the one hand, you could turn around and say, hold on a minute, you're earning X £100,000 a year, what are you doing?
Sure.
But they're also playing brilliant cricket, so it doesn't matter, actually. If they're having a lovely time, and they're playing a bit of golf, and they're playing as well as they have done in, well, really living memory, then don't worry about it.
We actually asked Jimmy on that tour, have you played more cricket or more golf? And he didn't want to answer the question, which I think is our answer. But he played more cricket. He played more golf than cricket.
But it's that thing, isn't it, where sometimes you think when, particularly at international level, when you've got coaches coming in, what are they doing? Because if somebody's playing international cricket, then they're clearly very good. So how much do you need to actually coach them? Surely what you're doing is creating the environment to make them flourish, creating the setup to allow them to play to their potential.
Yeah.
And there was that famous quote regarding Trevor Bayliss and the white ball team, where he was often cited as just creating a good vibe. And someone said, well, if that's the case, why don't you just buy a yucca plant, a scented candle and some whale noise and save the money? And to an extent, the point is it has a sort of a degree, there's a salience to it, because yes, it's all about environment, but creating that vibe and mentality is an art form, and it's such a skill to be able to take that burden off a side.
Yes. I mean, without getting too meta, I mean, you must feel that with what you do, don't you? When you're at ease, that's when the good stuff happens.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure it's, I think everyone would probably, whatever the world that you exist in and work in, music, I'm sure you found the same.
Yeah.
The more relaxed you were, probably the more creatively successful you were.
Yeah, yeah.
Because if somebody says to you, Felix, write a song in half an hour, you're never going to do it.
No.
And
but that's something I've found recently, actually, is that you can't put, you can't say, Wednesday afternoon, 2 till 3, I'm going to write a song.
Yeah.
You have to sort of be open and let it happen. But that's what musicians talk about quite often. And I love talking about art when Abbas is running to bowl, because it is art watching him bowl.
It's good leave. Real patience from Sibley.
Can I say so? I'll come back to music in a second.
Yeah.
I don't know if they threaten the stumps.
No.
That much. Is this plan to bowl outside of stump and nick them off? That must be the intention, or just get one to seam back in and set people up.
Yeah, it's not swinging like it was this time yesterday.
Yeah,
the ball is older.
Yeah.
It's 17 overs old now, but it's not. This time yesterday, we were seeing Worrell, Roach, Laws doing real damage with that ball. But it's not really doing anything.
It's got the hallmarks of Surrey could go big. Sorry.
Yeah, feels like that, doesn't it?
But sorry, I don't know why we're straying to this point, but the thing I find really interesting about musicians and writing is so often great songwriters talk about not owning the songs that they write.
Right.
So you just almost being like without getting, I hope it doesn't sound too pretentious, but being a kind of antenna, so you're not even thinking.
Yeah.
It just happens. It's as if the song already exists and it sort of moves through you.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally can see how that mentality would. But it's the same with sport, though, isn't it? You see it with a centre forward that's not scored for ages. They overthink it.
Right.
They're not just reacting.
Yeah.
A batter who's struggling for runs, you can see they're in two minds as to what they're doing. It's not just happening. And it exists in all forms of, I suppose, that either creative or mechanical success of the human body. And here ends our TED Talk.
No, I'm so down for it, and I think, but I think there is a cricket in point to that, because I think that's why we feel attached to Dom Sibley and Rory Burns because we've watched them go through that, haven't
Yeah.
we? You know, that sort of insecurity where they're all sort of visibly thinking about everything way too much. So there's something really reassuring about just watching them here at peace, going about it, you know what I mean?
Totally, and cricket is that strange thing where team success does not always equate to individual success.
Right.
And it's what we were talking about yesterday. You know, if you are, you know, we spoke about James Vince, and if you're in a 3-match ODI series as a batter, would you rather score 300s and lose the series 3-0, or score 3 ducks and win the series 3-0? And it's that really difficult thing because, particularly when you're fighting for a place, individual success is so important. And you can be in a winning side and score 2 ducks in a 4-day match and feel like you've not contributed and feel... But ultimately have that sort of slight... It's the individual within the team, isn't it?
I'm always dubious of that when players say, oh, it's not important, da-da-da-da. It
kind of is, isn't it? You think, yeah, you go home at the end of the night. I wish I'd done a bit more there.
Oh, he's pulled out of a shot there, Rory. Movement behind the sight screen.
I think it was Geoffrey Boycott who said, as an opener, you should always selfishly want to score 100 because, and have the mentality that if I score 100, and you know, almost not consciously putting yourself first, but knowing that if you do your job and score that 100, more likely the team will win anyway.
Right.
So actually, you'll sort of you have to be of that mentality. Oh, speaking of music and creativity.
Go on.
Lovely music fact I learned the other day.
Go on.
Dolly Parton.
Yes.
Got a lovely cover drive. No, she
I could put her in the musicians at 11.
She wrote I Will Always Love You.
Yeah.
And Jolene on the same afternoon.
Wow.
I mean, that was some day for the old antenna, wasn't it?
Wow.
That's going so amazing. Oh, just a little hint of interest. The first time we've seen that, arguably, really, in this Surrey innings. Just the 1 run added in the 4.5 overs we've had this morning.
I'm far from the first person that should be mentioning whether Hampshire's bowling plans are right, but it feels like they should be bowling that ball more often than the one outside off stump rarer, if you see what I mean. It feels like they're not threatening Rory quite enough.
They're not asking him to play. He's happy just to leave it alone. He can do that all day. It's not really swinging, and if you're not targeting the stumps a little bit more, and the danger you've got, particularly with someone like Burns, is he's so good off the pads. If you overpitch it, it's
anything too straight,
you're asking for trouble.
So she wrote it one afternoon.
Yeah, both songs.
Both songs in. How old was she? But she would have been early 20s. Would she have been at that time? Do you know?
Well, that's a good question.
For some reason, that's important for me to know that.
Or having already felt rubbish about a 20-year-old being really good.
Yeah. Would you rather be 20, incredibly good at bowling, or write 2 classics in an afternoon?
It was written in 1973.
Right.
And she was born in 1946.
Oh, wow, so she's
so that
27.
Means, yeah. It's going some, isn't it?
27. It's genius.
That is the danger. If you go a little bit straighter and over pitch it, he will pick up runs through that area. Just the second scoring shot of the morning. He'll get 3-4 at Rory Burns, and will happily wait out those deliveries outside the off stump, wait for the scoring opportunity, and that's good red ball batting, isn't it? You wait for the bowling side to try and just bowl that ball to look to force the issue.
Well, I guess that's answered my criticism and question minutes ago, where they probably don't want to bowl too straight to either Rory or Dom, because if you bowl too straight, that's their scoring areas for both of them, isn't it, through sort of mid-wicket. I'm glad you brought up Dolly Parton, Henry, because people listening, people watching yesterday will know that we've been doing a musicians level. Musicians that play cricket. This was inspired, I can't remember exactly how we got there, but there's a photo of John Lennon.
Yes.
Rory pulls out again. What's going on? He keeps hitting us from the other end. So there's a photo of John Lennon in a brief attempt as an actor. I think the film's called How I Won the War, where between shots they set up a makeshift cricket pitch. There's a piece of wood for stumps. We've all been there, and John Lennon's flicking the ball through mid-wicket, and he looked beautiful. Like you made the observation, you look like Saywag.
It was the one leg for me.
The flick. It's a good battle here. So that's burned. Let's see if we can put together a musician's 11, but there has to be evidence for this musician played cricket or plays cricket.
Yeah.
We got a few. Thank you for getting in touch with us. We've got a few in here. There's still a space at the top of the order, but Elton John is opening the batting because Henry found a photo of him
padded up
and looking to block the ball. As Henry said, well, I'm a block it man.
Didn't deserve any laughter at all. Ooh, well bowled.
That's a beauty.
Well bowled.
That's the battle we want, isn't it? At number 3, I mean, we've had phenomenal demand for this, and I know firsthand that this guy is a very good cricketer. Harry Judd from McFly has played in the Tailenders team.
Yes, he is a good player.
Yeah, and he's gun. So I'm not actually sure of Elton John's ability up top. So I'm thinking Harry Judd might have to be batting immediately. So he's there to shore up the batting at 3. John Lennon's at 4. I've already mentioned. Good leave, Rory. There's a space at 5. Yas, who'll be joining us later, of course. His shout was Paul Gwigsy McGuigan, the bass player in Oasis, because it's revealed in the Supersonic documentary that during Oasis's glory years, Gwigsy was more concerned about watching Test cricket and Doctor Who. There's a space at 7 for a wicket keeper. We've got a few shouts, so we're sort of auditioning that at the moment.
Woody was one from Bastille, wasn't
Exactly. At 8 is our front line spin option. She's having an amazing year. She's played Apollo about 3 or 4 times, I think, very recently. Rebecca Lucy Taylor will be bowling leg breaks, and we're just assuming she can bat a bit.
Yeah.
We're looking for 2 seam bowlers at 9 and 10 if anyone wants to get in touch. Or don't have to be seam bowlers, they can swing the ball with the space for a spinner. And at number 11, Chris Martin from Coldplay bowls wheels. And he's batting 11 because his namesake, Chris Martin, New Zealand, couldn't bat.
Yeah, it's perfectly logical, that.
Oh, that's a beauty. So just to summarise, we got spaces at the top of the order. We've got a space in the middle order, number 5. Woody might be wicket keeping, but if you can think of anyone else, give us a shout. And then there's 2 bowling options as well.
We need a rolling stone in there because we know that Wyman and Jagger.
That's a great point.
Both like a bit of cricket.
Yes, and lots of people have got in touch saying that. I think we can only have 1. Here we go. As I'm saying this, Nick Bereth's got in touch saying he put Eric Idle in the cricket musicians.
Okay, yeah.
There are definitely photos of Monty Python playing cricket during film, which is very Python-esque.
I'd be interested to see if Keith Barker might think about going over the wicket to the right-handed Sibley. See if he can get the ball going across him with the threat of one tailing in, because bowling that channel line around the wicket, it feels a little bit that he can just watch it go on through. And as we saw in the last over with Abbas to Burns going across the left-hander, that seemed to just create a little bit more.
Yeah. I guess he'd be reluctant to do that because you're ruling out LBW as a dismissal often with that angle, but it is telling a little bit. But when Surrey bowled yesterday morning, Hampshire won the toss and were in a lot of trouble actually. 38 for 4, I think it was at one stage. There's a lot of variety in those seamers, weren't they? Everyone was offering something different. and it feels like the front line three Hampshire bowlers and Fuller actually have all just bowled the same line, the same length. They haven't really asked different questions yet.
It's funny, isn't it? Because we spoke about this yesterday, that Sean Abbott, Tom Laws, Kemar Roach, Dan Worrell, all right arm, similar-ish pace, but we're doing very different things. And the Hampshire attack on paper is of much greater variety, with Abbas being a lot more kiss the surface and Barker the left arm angle. It feels like they've actually been a lot more samey, which is unexpected. Right, I think it's raining, and I think that the ground staff and the speed with which they're heading onto the field suggests that we might be in for something rather unpleasant, which is a real blow. Because I was getting into this battle.
I was enjoying this.
But here come the various bits of matting and hose and everything else, and it's not hammering down. Certainly the batting duo as they head towards the dressing room, they're not doing that thing of tucking their bats under their jerseys or anything like that.
Yeah, no one's rushing off.
It's more hands in pockets and a gentle amble. I think it's more what's on the radar that is the worry.
Really, yeah, knowing what's coming.
Because the radar, it looks not unlike a sort of early 90s goalkeeper shirt. A lot of colour, a lot of vibrance.
Sorry, David Seaman smarting shirt.
It looks like David Seaman at Euro 96, that weather radar. A lot of yellows, greens, reds. And it's rolling in over South London, which isn't what we need. This is frustrating because we're just getting into this.
They look reluctant to go off, actually, Burns and Sibley. Like, Rory Burns was actually walking back because he walked off to look like, oh, maybe we're not actually going off. But those clouds above, exactly as you say, I don't think it's exactly what's happening now. I think it's just looking at the sky and thinking, in a second, this might be bad.
Yeah, feels like that huge ground sheet there is just being dragged out. You can see a few specks on the camera there. And it's quite a... Unlike yesterday, there was a lot of blue sky around. And yes, there was some nasty showers, but it wasn't quite as set in, I think is the thing. But what we've got here is much more of a sort of blanket, which is the worry, because this is set up beautifully. 42 without loss. We heard yesterday from Mark Church that wisdom is that today was going to be the best day for batting.
Churchy was saying so. I don't know if that changes with it being really overcast and being on and off. It might make it harder to bat. I don't want to be too flippant because we want cricket, Emery, but I'm getting quite a lot of messages with suggestions of the Musicians 11.
Oh, go on.
Reel off a few.
Yeah, can we?
Pete Hicks has suggested Katy Perry, saying that she must have had some coaching from the Aussies after performing at the T20 World Cup in 2020. I kind of doubt that. I remember hearing from some of the players thinking that she didn't seem completely clear on cricket. But we thank you very much for getting in touch, Pete, and we will consider this. Simon Coates, as lots of people have got in touch saying Eric Clapton was a cricketer, lots of photos on Google. Simon, I think that's a great shout, and we might end up going back to Clapton, but I want to see if there's some more left field options in there.
It's a good one from Xavier here. So back in my student radio days, we had Sigrid, the Norwegian singer, over on
Tailenders.
Is that right?
Yep.
On Southampton Common, taught her how to play cricket and eat scones properly. Definitely opening bat potential. There's a video somewhere of her perfectly timing a cover drive. She's in, she's opening.
I think we've got, Hen, I think we've got that because
Sigrid, Norwegian right-hander.
Her manager, and I think some of her touring crew, listens to Tailenders, so she in fact got in touch with Tailenders.
Is that right?
Asking Jimmy a question. I can't remember what the question was, but it was another moment in my life where I was thinking my life's gone left field now. I'm witnessing a conversation between Sigrid and Jimmy Anderson. But should we get her in at top of the order?
I think we should. If we've got evidence from Xavier that she's playing a nice cover drive.
There we go.
Sigrid's in.
Evidence is enough.
That is, we've got evidence that she's played cricket.
So now I'm delighted to say the top 4 is shored up. Sigrid, Elton John up top.
It's the collaboration you never knew you needed.
Yeah. Very much in the mould of Tom Sibley and Rory Burns. Batting 3 is Harry Judd. We know he's gun. And 4 is the great, very good through leg side. Don't bowl too straight to him, John Lennon.
Yeah. Anything on the pads is going.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly that.
Absolutely done. Lovely. So we've still got a place at 5. Keeper is up for grabs.
So you're saying there's a rolling stone we're going to try and get in there, Mick Jagger or
yeah, I think
Bill Wyman. Can I just quickly call out William Rosetta has got in touch. This is one after your heart, Henry. I don't know if we want to entertain this kind of thing. Saying Lou Bega, man bowl number 5.
We've not seen him play cricket.
No, mate, I respect that you got in touch, William, but you slightly misunderstood the premise of this game. It isn't cricket in the music puns, but we might get there if the rain continues.
We can't rule out anything at this point. Yeah, I think there's a lovely link to cricket, obviously, because that was the Channel 4 theme, wasn't it?
Exactly.
When you and I were avoiding doing our revision because we were watching.
Yep.
Watching the cricket.
Exactly right.
And we can't rule out getting to this point, but at this stage, I'm still convinced we can get to a. Yeah, Pete Hicks with the Katy Perry suggestion. Has she ever been seen with a bat in hand? That is.
That's I think that's something we got to find, because I instinctively I do want to put Katy Perry in this team, but just simply the rules, just to clarify them. If there is no evidence of them playing cricket, we cannot put them in this 11.
Yeah. Richard Dixon gets in touch, says you're right about the radar, but I'm going for 1990s Norwich, that famous Norwich shirt.
You know what? So Henry's showing me the photo of the Norwich kit. That's looking at that. I've just seen the face of Jeremy Gunn.
Yes. I'm thinking away to Bayern Munich.
Yeah, ping.
Back of the net. Lovely old job. Right then, so where are we? Well, it's raining here at the Oval, as you can see, and at the moment, it's not raining hard, but I think that Lee Fortis and his team have seen what's coming on the radar, know it's a long summer, and quite wisely are thinking, let's cover the majority of that square to make sure that it's well protected, because what we sense on that rather lively radar is that we could get a fair bit more, and so we're going to have to be a little bit cautious, inevitably, about how much cricket that we're going to promise you today, but the hope is that we will get back out. I think that there's a chunk of rain coming in, but then this afternoon it might clear up a little bit, so what we're going to do is we're going to have a cup of tea and a coffee, and
simultaneously
a coffee, yeah. There's Steve downstairs that's going to help us out with that, and in the meantime we'll leave you with that, and we will return soon. So thank you for joining, Felix. Now, if you want to get in touch with your musicians who have played cricket, then do so. Get in touch. Let us know. We're roaring our way through the 11. We're up to 7 so far, with some possibilities as well knocking around. But Sigrid is the highlight of my morning. So thank you to you, Xavier, and we'll speak to you in a little bit.
in. Yeah, peg it, I'm fine.
The umpires have decided that early lunch at 12:30 with a view to restarting at 1:10.
shake it. Just shake. go before they've even got their end in. It's not good though.
The umpires have now decided that the play can't now start until 25 minutes past 1 to ensure that everything is cleared up before then. Weather also affecting other matches around the country. No play yet at Birmingham between Warwickshire and Kent, or Trent Bridge between Nottinghamshire and Somerset, or Northampton between Middlesex and Northants. No play at all today, again, for the second day running at Bristol between Gloucestershire and Yorkshire. And again, no play yet at Grace Road between Leicestershire and Derbyshire. Chester Street has seen some play. Durham 425 for 9 declared. Worcestershire 54 for 1. The other live match at Chelmsford, Lancashire 207. Essex 184 for 8. Surrey County Cricket Club and the Carers Trust have joined forces this year to provide an opportunity for some respite and entertainment for carers of all ages. Young carers and young adult carers have received free tickets to the Kia Oval for this first Algae Insurance County Championship home game. Over 120 guests will be joining us here at the Oval over the course of this match. The Carers Trust works with a network of more than 120 local organisations across the UK to provide funding and support for unpaid carers while campaigning for them to get a better deal. A similar opportunity will be offered to